Okay, so let's say you wanted to make this animation. Square, circle, triangle, square, circle, triangle, square. This actually takes a little bit of crafting of your shapes in order to make it happen. I'm just going to start from scratch. I'm making an artboard, and I'm actually designing this as a loading animation for iOS, and I want it to be part of an actual UI activity indicator view. That means it has to be 37 by 37 at its largest size. So there's a couple of nuances here. First, let's just have a look at some shapes. So I'm going to make a rectangle, and I'm going to position that. I'm going to make it 30 by 30. And I'm going to position that at 3.5, 3.5. Okay, so that's the center of the thing. And now I'm just going to go over here. I'm going to delete that. I'm going to press O for oval, and I'm going to position that in the center. Well, I'm going to make that 30 by 30 as well. And position it in the same place. Now we're putting it on the half pixel, and we have to do this because the entire artboard is actually 37 by 37. So if you want it in the middle, an even width shape like this needs to be starting on the 0.5 or the half pixel. Okay, so let's just animate between these two. Let's just see what this does. So we're going to say circle, square, triangle. That's what our file is going to be called. I'm going to save that. We're going to create a new project. We're going to make it big. We're going to grab that file and drop it on there. We're going to open it. So we have artboard and artboard copy. We're going to go like that. We're going to add, okay, weird stuff is happening, right? What do you think it is? Well, there's a couple things going on. Let's have a look at the shapes themselves. So, okay, you want to go from here to here. Makes sense, right? Now let's see. There's 1, 2, 3, 4 points. And 1, 2, 3, 4 points. Now, depending on which one, so there's two things here. One, the points are in different positions, and each one of the points actually has a different kind of curve. So see, this one has mirrored anchor points, and these ones have straight anchor points. So you're actually going to get the motion of points moving into the right positions and then changing their anchor points at the same time. Okay, so can we fix this? Well, maybe we can, but we don't actually know where Sketch starts the drawing either. Okay, so for a shape, let's just have a look at these now. If I were to take this shape and I were to say, let's just turn on Command Option R and play around with the endpoints. Let's say we play with the beginning endpoint. Okay, it looks like the beginning of a circle starts at the bottom with Sketch, and then it draws the next point up, and it draws it counterclockwise motion, right? Okay, so now let's go back to the square, and if we do this, it looks like it draws clockwise from the top left. All right, so let's see if we can fix something like that, okay? So let's take this guy and rotate it by 180 degrees. Looks the exact same. And now what we're going to do is we are going to, and now what we are going to do looks the exact same. Now what we're going to do is we're going to flatten that. Okay, so now that should have the start point be drawn from this position. Let's go have a look. So we're going to delete. Okay, so let's go have a look. We are going to delete. We're going to add, we're going to animate from you to you. And now, oh, not quite the same. It's getting close. But this point is moving to this point. What it also looks like now is that if we took this shape like that, this shape like that, and we went like this, and we went like this, and we went like that, and like that. Save that. We'll now get a different effect. So our drawing is on point. Okay, so what's the difference here? Now, what is that artifacting happening? That's when you go from no control points to control points. And this is going to happen. This is going to happen in iOS. This is going to happen everywhere. It's essentially because as you transition from having nothing or 0 as your anchor point into some value, there's some division or something like that that happens, and it makes it go to infinity. So this is actually an expected behavior, this weird thing. And the way you get around that is you don't transition from points that have no control points to points that have control points. Okay. So let's just go and do that. And then we know that this point is at 3.5. And we know that this is going to be mirrored. Let's make this 3.6. And this 3.4. Like that. We're also going to take that point and we are going to join it with a round. And now let's go have a look. Delete. Create. Artboard. There we go. Now you see, that's a nice and smooth animation, except you get this weird artifacting that happens right here. Okay, so the way that I like to like if I want to do complex animations like this, and it seems simple, but it's actually this transition between multiple different states of points and control points. What you actually want to do is you want to craft your shapes so that they are made up of the same stuff or made up of the same number of things. So this is how I create my rectangles for this animation. First, I'm going to call this my square. I'm going to delete that guy because I'm just going to start modifying this. I'm going to make another rectangle. 3.5, 3.5, 30. There we go. Now I'm going to round that corner just a tiny bit. I'm going to round it to 1, and then I'm going to flatten things. Okay, great. Okay, so if I had a shape, an oval that was 30 by 30, and that oval was actually on my artboard at 3.5, 3.5. Okay, and I double clicked into that guy and I selected this, then I know that the X position here is 10.22. I know that the X position or the Y position is 10.22 there. And then I know that these two are going to be 2678 and 2678. So these two numbers I got to remember are 10.22 and 2678. 10.22, 26.78. Let's make those black. Okay, good. So I'm going to remember these for later. Now, I'm going to duplicate that square. And now I know that I have a shape with the same amount of control points. I'm going to call this circle. Ooh, and I don't like this name rectangle. I'm just going to call this shape. Now I'm going to move this to really close to the center. The center I know is going to be at 18.5. So I'm going to move it to 18.4. I'm going to move it to 18.4. All right. Now this is going to go to 10.22. And this is going to go to 18.4. And its control point is going to go to 10.22. And I'm going to do that for all of them. So grab this. See, there's even artifacting when you get up close. That was kind of the stuff that I was showing you before. So now I've sort of reconstructed what, when it's super, super far out like that, looks exactly like a circle, but it's not. It's actually a modified version of that square. Let's try that animation now. Okay, and then let's go and have a look. Timeline, we know that we're going to iOS. Okay, there we go, that looks right. We're going to save this as a circle. Now we're going to export to iOS, choose here, export, open that folder, timeline, double click. Now we're going to pop open Xcode. We're going to run this in the simulator. There's our animation, and okay, looks good on iOS. Now, let's go ahead and take and make the triangle. So I'm going to take the square, I'm going to go like this. And this is a little bit different than making the circle. This one's a bit easier. I'm going to double click. I'm going to bring these down to the middle, just like that. And then I'm going to bump them up by 0.1, so 0.4. And then I'm going to do the same thing here. Just keep it symmetric. And now I want to change this control point so that this ends up being a bit smoother here, see? So we're going to go like this. I'm going to say 0.4. So I go up by 0.3, and I'll probably bring this down by 0.3. Looks pretty good. Let's take the whole thing. Let's round those joins. Kind of smooths out a little bit of dirt there and there. That looks pretty good. I'm going to select these three. like that. I'm going to do this, 1, 2, 3, and now I'm going to change the colors. Okay, I'm going to call this triangle, and I'm going to move this up like that, and we have our shapes. I'm going to go into flow, I'm going to delete, I'm going to create a timeline from square to circle to triangle. I'm going to add that, and okay, let's do that. Let's check it out on iOS. I'm going to call that timeline. We're going to go back to Xcode and resave. There we go. Click, click. There you go. But now we want that to loop. Okay. So let's do this. Zoom out. So I know that I'm at the square, and then I'm at the circle, and then the triangle, and I want it to go back to the square. So let's take, oh, looks like we had a little bit of a line join animation here. All right, well, the line join there is round. That's what we want. Let's go and delete that. That happened because we changed the line join for the triangle in Sketch and only on the triangle artboard. So now let's go back to the square by dragging this out. So that's at 1, that's at 2, this should be at 3. And now you see I'm just pressing Option and that duplicates it, just like duplicating a layer on the stage, just like pressing Option and doing that. Okay. So now we go circle, square, square. And if I loop, that animation should look pretty nice. Just looks continuous now, right? Okay, so I want to do a little effect where I'm rotate while this is all happening. So here, I'm going to say this is going to go to 90. I'm going to turn off relative mode now. It's going to go to 90. And then at 2 seconds, the shape's going to be 180. And then at 3 seconds, it's going to be 270. So there you go. And 3 is a bit long, but that's okay. Let's just see how that looks for now. Resave. And what's happening every time we resave essentially is just the details of our timeline is changing because we're adding some animations and stuff like that in between. So you can see here there's a path and a path and a path and a path. So there's 4 paths. This naturally is the square, and if I copied and pasted this, it would paste the same right into here. There you go. It's identical. Okay. So let's hit play. And there's a little bit of clipping here. That's because on the view controller, this clips to bounds is equal to true. So just call that false. Check it again. It's neat, right? So the triangle always rotates into the same position. If the triangle looked like it was rotating into other positions, it would look like this entire animation is going around and around and around and around. So let's see how we can do that. What I'm going to do is I'm going to pause. And I know that I always need to end on the square. So I'm going to grab these rotations like that. And I'm going to Option, drag so that this is out at 4 seconds. And then I'm going to zoom a little bit. So we know that the rotation here is 270. So this is 360. This should be 450. And this should be 540. Okay, let's see what that looks like. So the triangle points into a different position, at least into 2 different positions. It points here, and the next time it points up. Okay, so what we could even do now is grab all of those, animate out to, say, zoom out, animate that all the way out to 7 seconds. That was 540. So okay, so that animation is 12 seconds long. Playing it's a bit slow, so we could just speed it up. There you go, it's pointing up, pointing this way, pointing down, pointing that way. It's fairly complete animation, so why don't we speed it up so the actual time is 6 seconds. We're going to scale that animation. There we go. And then we go and we export that one more time. Timeline, iOS, export, open folder. It's already open. We're going to resave. Change that back to false. And then notice there's more animations happening in here. More animation steps. So we go and hit play. And there's your animation that you can toss into a UI activity indicator view.